Zach Bair is equal parts businessman and musician, making him a rarity that understands both words in the term music business. The Zach Bair Band has new music and the Zach Bair business has new technology. Let's explore both. Zach Bair, welcome to Noise11.com. I've been thinking of a way to introduce you, Zach. I think I've nailed it. Mild-mannered CEO from a great metropolitan company becomes nighttime rock star, able to leap tall lyrics in a single bound. Is that you?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. I will absolutely take that.
So what came first, the businessman or the musician?
That's a good question. I've always been a musician in some fashion or another. I started playing piano at a very young age. I was about 4 years old, and my mother had a grand piano, and she would accuse me of, banging on the piano, which of course I probably did at a 4-year-old age. But I always loved music, and I got into music when I was more seriously when I was in high school and college and whatnot. But I also knew at a very early age, I didn't want to be that guy that would find some guys and go live in a 1-bedroom, no air conditioning apartment in LA and try to make it. I knew my acumen was in technology and business and things like that. So I figured, look, I'm gonna, build my career in technology, and as I go along the way, I'm going to leverage that technology and the relationships, and eventually, which led to the music business, into my musical career. So it's a little convoluted, but it kind of came together. But it really didn't make a lot of sense until a couple of years ago when we released the first single, Rutherford Drive, which was 2019, and that's when I was like, okay, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been playing clubs, and whatnot forever, playing cover music. And I decided at that point, I'm really going to make a run at it and leverage the music business relationships that I've developed over the last 17 years.
Yeah. Well, I guess being a businessman understands the business of music, whereas the average musician knows the term music business, but doesn't really understand that second word. So that must be quite an asset for you to have in both sides of your career.
Yeah, it's definitely come in handy because I can see both sides of the equation. And don't get me wrong, because I respect the artists that want to go do music and play music they like. But at the same point in time, when you're writing a song, I feel like that, you can't make it so far out there and so left field and so right field that people don't understand what you're conveying to them in terms of emotion and in terms of what you're trying to say with your music. And, I'm a huge Rush fan. But of course, 75% of the population is probably not, they're not Rush fans. Dream Theater, I love guys like that, but they're musicians fans. And the thing that I always came back to in songwriting was that, it's the emotion first, and you want to be able to touch people with what you're writing and then come back to something that makes them move and makes them feel good and really tunes into that particular song that you're writing.
Let's go through both facets of your career and explain the business side of it before we get into the music side, so we can knit the two together and all make sense for the viewers here. I guess in business, you go back to a company, I understand, called MediaTek, which would have been about 15 years ago?
Yes. That's actually, that was my second startup company. Before that, I had another startup company called Voyant, which it was actually I'm a true nerd in every sense of the word, and I had written some software that automated the configuration of network devices like routers and switches and things like that when I was working for American Airlines. And I ended up taking the software out of the company and raised a bunch of money and started Voyant. And then a year after that, I started in MediaTek, kind of building upon my skill set of being able to use technology to do business process re-engineering and stuff like that. And in the process of that, we ended up taking the company public and had the opportunity to acquire some music oriented technology that married two of my favorite things, which are music and technology. And that technology was called NetBurn Secure. We developed NetBurn Secure. This is about 2002. So that, prior to iTunes, by the way, where you could actually download, mix and match tracks from your, favorite artist or whatever to a CD. It would burn the CD. You could not copy that CD because of our technology, and it wouldn't leave anything on the hard disk. So at that day and age, in the age of Napster and all the pirating and whatnot, it was very appealing to major label groups. So we ended up doing deals with a couple of different major labels, and our first major artist was JC Chazet from NSYNC, which, I'm a rock fan, but, he did sell records, so it was all cool. But shortly after that happened, it morphed into more of the live disc, the disc live stuff. Apple came out with iTunes, forever changed the idea of DRM and copy control technology. And, we were a tiny company and couldn't compete with Apple, trying to figure out how we're going to, convince them like our way is a better way. So we pivoted and we acquired the original Disc Live in 2003. And in 2004, in Disc Live, for anybody who's watching this, Disc Live is considered to be the pioneer in instant live recording, where you go out and record major artists on a tour, generally every tour stop, so that the fans that go to that show get a copy of the exact concert they just saw. They can walk out with a CD or a USB drive, and in some cases we've even done DVDs in the past. And that company became really successful really fast. We ended up doing a bunch of different artists. In about 2006, we had a guy by the name of Mark Cuban come along and offer to buy a good portion of the company, and ended up selling the company to Mark, and I retained the rights to the live disc technology, rebranded back to Rockhouse Live Technology. And then briefly, 4 years, we aligned with EMI and Capitol Records, which brought me to Australia. And I wish I could remember the neighborhood the office was in Sydney. Surrey Hills, that's where it was. From there, I've really just been kind of doing it ever since. We rebranded back to Disc Live for the live stuff after Universal made a bid to purchase EMI, and that was like 2012.
Right. And then when did VNUE come along? Because this is the public company. Is this now the one over the top of everything you do?
Yeah, it's kind of the mothership. So VNUE, I joined VNUE in 2016 as the CEO. I took over from a guy that he had never run a public company before. Massively good intentions, but I think he got in a little bit too much. And MediaTek was a public company. So I came in and brought in my investors and my longtime colleague, Tony Cardenas, better known as Tony Montana from the band Great White. And really started about retooling everything that the company was doing. Brought in the Disc Live stuff through an exclusive arrangement that I did with the other company. And we ended up acquiring Set.fm, and it's SET.fm, which is basically just the digital version of what we're doing with Disc Live. It sends the concert to your mobile device, and you can walk out at the end of the show, and it's really cool stuff. The first shows that we ended up doing with Rob Thomas is where I actually re-met Scott Dorsey this last summer. But we've worked with Rob 3 years in a row. We've done King's X, we've done Patti Smythe, we've done probably about, maybe a dozen artists since we acquired the technology. And VNUE, we've got two lines of business. We've got the consumer side, which is all the Set FM stuff. We've got another side of the company that has the rights management side of it. And I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure you guys probably have the same problem in Australia that we do here. But you have the performing rights organizations, and here we have DMI and ASCAP and CSAC. And they basically force independent businesses and radio stations take blanket license agreements for all the music within their catalog, so they have the right to play that. Problem is that they generally tend to overbill for that, but the more, I call it an invasive problem, is that the artists whose music it's actually getting played, they're not getting paid for that. So Soundster is our other side of the house, which it's a cloud-based system that has physical devices that go in venues and bars and restaurants and whatnot, listens to the music, tracks it back to the actual PRO that has the music, so that at the end of the day, we can actually make sure that when the song's played, stakeholders of the song, like the songwriters and publishers, get paid. So it's a huge step in the way that the business has been done for the last 100 years or so.
How does that work technology-wise with live music? Because, as you know, things like Siri or Google or, whatever the listening technology of the day is, can't detect a live song versus the recorded song invariably. So how does it pick a live song, a live performance, which is unique to that moment?
Yeah, so the important thing about music is that there's fingerprinting technology that obviously we can utilize to recognize music that it has been fingerprinted, recorded music that, the radio and whatnot. Live music, on the other hand, we are developing algorithms based on a number of different scenarios, whether the song is played slow or fast, or the lyrics, or the melody of the song. It's a variety of factors that go into identifying, what that song actually is. And we've actually tested the system with relatively, what I would say, horrible renditions of cover songs and been able to identify them. So we're on the right track with that. We're not there yet. We're focusing on radio and recorded music first, but the live music is a key part of what we're doing. And we think we're going to get pretty close to, 98 to 99% identification of that music.
I would imagine the ultimate test for something like that would be to see if it can detect Bob Dylan songs at a Bob Dylan concert.
Yeah, that's exactly spot on. You're totally right. But that's the holy grail right there. Awesome.
With all of these different revenue streams in the various companies that you're talking about, it all relies on live music. So how is the company going over 2020 and possibly into 2021?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously we were excited for what we thought was going to be an awesome 2020. We had Matchbox 20 booked for that major tour. We'd already started pre-sales on that, and the pandemic hit. So what we didn't do in 2020, we think we're going to make that up in spades in 2021, due to the fact that all the artists that have missed out on revenue this year are going to be looking ways to increase the revenue streams next year. So we think next year is probably going to really, really make up for 2020.
I guess, we have to sort of, that term, the new norm that everyone seems to be using at the moment, we need to kind of work out a way when the new norm is going to start to resemble the old norm for anything to be getting back together in a business sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation on when the major events are going to start, and the key consideration is are the insurance companies going to insure these large events like that? And I think it's going to be a measured approach. I think that the smaller venues are probably going to experience a faster comeback than the really major, massive events. But I think it's going to happen. I mean, I don't think that we're going to have a vaccine anytime ridiculously soon, but I do think that there's going to be one probably by the end of the year. So by the time the spring touring season comes around, hopefully everybody but the anti-vaxxers will get the vaccine and we can go to concerts again.
Let's talk music, the Zach Bair Band, and you have the new EP out at the moment, Ordinary Girl, and it sort of bookends with a song called Rutherford Drive, which was a 2019 song.
Correct. Yeah. So Rutherford Drive, just a kind of a brief story about that. I had, like I told you earlier, I've been playing cover music for a long time and interspersing original music, and I've been writing original music for a long time. And I finally decided to go ahead and record Rutherford Drive, and it actually went really well. We recorded at a famous studio in Memphis called Ardent Studios, and another studio called, American Recording Studios, which was actually owned by Elvis Presley at one point in time. And put the track out in 2019, and it just got a lot of traction. We ended up, we've probably had 500,000 streams on it so far, and over 200,000 plays on YouTube. So for relatively unknown band to do that, I was pretty encouraged by that. And then Ordinary Girl, that song I'd written probably 12 to 15 years ago and put it into a demo form, and never really, I didn't do anything with it. I sat on it and had intended to do something, but life gets in the way and all this crazy stuff going on. And I wrote it because there was a girl, she was contemplating suicide. And after being surrounded with, like love and support, she ultimately decided against it and continued to live her life. And that's what that song's about. And flash forward to last year, 2019, after Rutherford Drive came out, we had a young employee at one of the music venues that I own. And she was only 28 years old. And she committed suicide. And it really hit us very, very hard. We were not expecting that, obviously. And there were no, obvious signs that she was suicidal. And it got me thinking again that I needed to finish Rutherford Drive and actually do something with that song. I still kind of, waffled around a little bit, bunch of stuff going on, tours and whatnot, and pandemic hit. And that to me was kind of my sign that I was like, okay, it's time to do this. The music industry is basically shut down. So, had time on my hands, and I called up a buddy in Nashville by the name of Skid Mills, who's a Grammy-winning producer. He's done Saving Abel. He's done a band called 12 Stones and Dizzy Top, Sister Hazel, a bunch of bands. And he's always in demand, so I knew he's never available. And I was like, hey, I would really like to see if you would help me with a song. And he agreed to it. So we cut the song. And first time I heard the instrumental, after he added his secret sauce to it, I was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. We got to make this happen. And at that point, I decided to go ahead and do the entire EP. And the song Ordinary Girl as a single came out on August 10th, but I was already working on getting a partner for suicide awareness, because that's what that song's about. Not every song ends with a happy ending like that one does. Like my friend that worked for me at VNUE did not end happily. And so I pushed the release date of the EP to September 1st to coincide with National Suicide Awareness Month, and ended up partnering with an organization called the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and donating 20% of the proceeds from any sales, streaming, whatnot, of both the single and the EP. So it's the song and the EP itself, all the songs have like real meaning, and I'm really, really happy that I was able to get together with a producer that could really help me articulate that musically in a way that people dig it.
So you do have a band. Who are the other guys in the band?
So my band consists of my bass player who joined first. His name is Daniel Dwight. He's one of the founding members of Saving Abel. And my guitar player, his name is Jeff Cobble. And Jeff actually played with an epic rock band called Medieval Steel, and then another gentleman by the name of Jeff Ward, who is my drummer, and he's played with a couple of Nashville, kind of bands and a bunch of rock bands in Memphis. And those are my guys, 4 guys.
Are they businessmen as well?
One of them, yeah. Jeff was a businessman until I sucked him into this band. So, Jeff Ward, yeah, my drummer. But everybody, we're musicians at heart. I'm very fortunate that I can do my job from anywhere, and have the ability to do that. But my goal right now is to get the band into a charting situation so that by the time the touring, starts next year, the guys don't have to worry about businesses or anything except playing music.
Zach, great story. Thank you for joining us with us at Noise 11.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.